The South African journalist and editor Dianne Hawker joins me now to discuss this further. Dianne, good to see you, and thanks as always. Following the Constitutional Court ruling, Wallace's release was expected, but I suppose some are unhappy about this.
Yes, absolutely. In particular, Chris Hanni's widow, Dimpo Hanni, has been very unhappy about his release. The South African Communist Party has also expressed concern before he's released, and they also put out a statement today saying that they are disappointed that the Justice Minister actually went ahead with granting parole. There are also members of the ANC, for example, the Premier of Gauteng, Panyaza Lesufi, who has been quite vocal about the release, saying that Wallace should actually be kept behind bars. Of course, the Justice Minister in that statement and the clip that you mentioned there, indicating that the parole system does exist for a reason, and that Wallace can't be kept in prison indefinitely, considering that he has served the prescribed sentence for the crime that he committed.
Now that Wallace has been released, is there any indication as to what happened when he was stabbed in prison?
Unfortunately, the details are still sketchy about the incident. Indications are that it was relating to the fact that he was expected to be released. However, the Correctional Services Department hasn't given that much information. For example, we're not sure who the inmate is who stabbed him. We just are aware that it is another inmate who stabbed him and that he was required to then go for medical care. I believe he was stabbed somewhere on his abdomen, and then he spent the last week in hospital receiving treatment for that injury.
And the Minister of Justice today said Wallace has been given strict parole conditions. Do we have any indication of what those might be?
Well, the statement didn't give the details, but we do know that from other parole cases that we've seen in South Africa, that usually a parolee will have limited movement within the borders of South Africa. For example, if you are placed on parole in the Gauteng province, you wouldn't be able to freely move and just go to any other province of the country or even outside of the borders without first notifying the correctional services facilities. There are also instances when people are given ankle tracking, monitoring bracelets. In other instances, correctional services staff actually go and check on the people who are on parole at the place where they are meant to be staying. Ordinarily, they're also not allowed to go to, social events. So, for example, you wouldn't be able to go to a bar where there would be liquor being served when you are on parole. And in a lot of the cases, there's also a requirement to fulfill some community service. So there are instances when parolees are given some community service tasks to fulfill, such as assisting at police stations or forming part of some programs that work with correctional services. Those details haven't been given. However, we do know that those are some of the circumstances around parole that we've seen in South Africa in the past.
And Dianne, despite these developments, there's also recently been calls for a fresh probe into Hanni's killing. Now, is anyone in government speaking on this?
Yes, this has been a very interesting development, considering that we have an instance where Janus Wallace has admitted to killing Chris Hanni. There has always been a view in some of the political circles, particularly within the SACP, that Wallace was not acting alone and that he could have potentially had some sort of instruction from a political player or political players to get him to actually commit this crime. Now, the SACP over the weekend had actually made a call to say that, since there is this view that there's more to this than what meets the eye, that the government should actually go and do further investigation and ask Wallace who actually instructed him or collaborated with him in this murder.
Well, Dianne Hawker, many thanks for speaking with us.
Thank you.